project compliance. This is your business domain topic. If we talk about PMI exam content outline, it's a task in a business domain. I think the first task in the business domain. We will look into that as well. So we can say we are working on the project. Yeah, the project gets various types of requirement. You may get functional requirement. Most of us are familiar with the particular functionality we want to see in the deliverable which we are producing. I'm using a word deliverable, could be a product, could be a service or something. What all should be there? There could be a non-functional requirement, there could be a transitioning requirement, there could be other type of requirement also like stakeholder. But today we are focusing on the compliance requirement. The compliance requirement are a little special because they may not be coming from the person who is going to use your deliverable, but might be coming from the external bodies, government regulations, or your own organization to ensure that you are delivering the right product or a right safety or a right service to your customer or a stakeholder. So it is something which is kind of recommended to you. You have to follow it. Now, these kind of compliance requirement, some of them may be directly applicable to the product which I am delivering as a result of my project. Now, we can say that project can deliver incremental deliverable also. Here, just for an explanation point, I'm putting the deliverable towards the end. But there could be some compliance requirements which are validatable to a deliverable which we are producing. So, for example, you want to buy a car, you are designing a new car can be tested for the security and the carbon emission and other related compliances. So the deliverable, which is a car, can be tested. Or say you are creating a software and the software can be tested for ensuring that it is meeting the regulatory requirement related to taxations. Yeah? So the deliverable can also be tested in some cases against those compliance requirements. There could be some other type of compliance requirements which are more applicable to the way you work. Yeah, when you are doing the things, you need to do things in a particular way, because sometimes your internal organization wants to put some kind of restriction or limitations on you. Sometimes these limitations are coming from the outside. So in my view, again, the PMI is not telling you to look into this particular way. I see the compliances in a 2x2 matrices: internal, external, process, product. Yeah, so I can put it little elaboration. So I can say that there are some compliances which are coming from external bodies, external to the performing organization. Could be client, could be government, could be some other industry body. And there could be some compliances which are coming from your execution company itself, your organization, your management, your stakeholder wants that you should be dealing and having these kind of adherence. So there could be some internal compliances as well. That some compliances are applicable to process, some are applicable to product. So let's see them with the help of some examples. So what could be an external process compliance? Yeah, there could be things like you need to focus on whenever you are working, you need to take care of environment. Yeah, so you should not be creating say pollution or hazardous material which is creating environmental issue. Maybe handling of material, the way you store a particular material. If you are dealing with particular thing, maybe government regulates that it should be secured in a particular way, there should be a proper a storage for it. So while you are doing things, you may need to follow that. There could be some people management practices. Maybe the external government tells that you should not be employing people who are below a certain age. Maybe you should not make people work beyond a certain hours. So there could be some external process related compliances which are coming from external bodies. Yeah, so that could be one type of thing. Now there could be some other way we can say that there could be external product related compliances. Like I gave an example, you may need to follow, your product should demonstrate that you are complying with the tech standard. Your product should demonstrate that the product is safe to use, and there could be a particular safety standard which a product can be tested upon. So you can say it's a compliance requirement, our user may not be aware of it, but my regulatory body is aware of it. Many times the compliances are there to protect the user. Maybe as a car buyer or as a new car buyer, I may not be aware what kind of safety the car should have, but someone government want to make sure that they are aware and they want to protect me from buying something wrong. They will put a compliance requirement related to safety, which as a new car developer, when we are developing a new product, again, regular development of a car will be an operational thing, But designing a new car, I need to make sure that it is meeting a product safety thing. So that's the kind of example which is coming from external. Maybe in a software world, we may want to have some auditable data. So maybe the government have a regulation tells you that whatever you do, you should have an audit trail. Like in the India, we have a recommendation when you are doing financial treatment, the software must support audit trail. Yeah, and it should be on. Yeah, if it is not, then government may not like or may not let you run that particular software in the country. So you see that there are external compliances. Some are related to the process, some are related to product. Now, process, say, if I am making a product, say I'm making a t-shirt, the process compliance says that identify and don't employ people below a certain age. But it is not verifiable when I see a t-shirt. I don't know it was made by a person after a certain age or below a certain age. But whereas a product compliance may talk about the t-shirt should not be having a particular set of chemicals which are unhealthy for the skin. That can be validated by looking at the t-shirt. That kind of classification I'm doing, that there was a compliance which are related to process, and there could be some compliances which are related to product. Now somebody will say, okay, we understood at a high level. What about internal compliances? Can we categorize them into process and product also? Yes, maybe you have internal compliances talking about a process quality standards. Say organization may want to follow, say, a particular quality standards because they believe by doing it, they ensure the future maintainability and quality of the product. That's why they are doing it. They want to protect their future interest beyond a project. They may have a particular development process. You should be doing a process in a particular sequence. You should be producing set of artifact that might be put as an internal compliance to us. There could be product related internal compliances also, maybe some set of design rules which can be validated in the product. Are you following those design rules or not? Yeah, could be that organization may want to have an audit trail or audit log of various transactions just to support the support of the product in a later stage. So you may have an internal requirement for your support group to do a diagnosis of the problem, and you can say that, oh, no, you should have a facility to on it, off it, because that's our compliance requirement internally, that product should be meeting a particular audit law. So these are just high level examples. Further, we can categorize these compliances. I would see that these four as a more like a dimension rather than category. Categories could be safety, legal, say working practices. Those kind of categorization is also useful to identify who can possibly take care of the work. Now, going back to our overall diagram, that we can understand that there are compliance requirements. They can be categorized into multiple categories. We can see them into internal, external, process, product dimensions as well. And we know that we need to collect these compliance requirements. Now, how do we work with them? In general, the product related compliance requirements, which are validatable in the product, may get captured first in your requirement document if you are following predictive lifecycle. If you are following adaptive lifecycle, then they will get captured in a product backlog, because these are the things which need to be built. Whereas your process related compliances may come into your project management plan. Your quality management plan may contain a lot of matrices and quality rules which you need to follow. In case of adaptive way of working, it may be a part of your ways of working, like the way you do your various meetings, the way you organize information, the way you share information with others. That should be compliant to a particular way of working. You should not be say discouraging a particular type of interaction. You should not be employing a particular type of design rule. So you may have a clarity about how do you operate. Process is how do we work. Do we produce some artifacts or don't produce some artifacts which are good for our overall working. Now the question comes, how do I ensure that these things are getting followed? Process related things are followed. So I plan them in my project management plan. So if I say that I cannot buy a material from a particular geography as an external process related compliance, I put that in my procurement plan that not to buy things from here. If I have a process related compliance external, not to engage with people who are below a certain age, I put into my resource management plan and ensure that we are not doing it. Similarly, in the adaptive way of working, I ensure that we have a team agreement and working agreement where we are taking care of all these process related guidance. Now, periodically, my organization may want to validate that are we really following it? So they may conduct an audit. So audit is like they come and ask, okay, show me how do you do these things? Show me all your purchase orders. Show me what kind of material you are using. Show me who is allocated to the project for how many hours. And show me how do you do the development? What are the steps related to it? So by doing an audit, they check that are you following the process of doing the work, which is compliant with the compliance requirement. So that could be an audit part of it. We may have to do validation and verification for a product compliance part of it. Yeah. So when you say my product has to meet a particular safety, particular environmental, particular standard, I will say, okay, let's do a frequent verification and engage some legal group who can do as an external validation also, maybe getting frequently validated from the group who understands the compliance as well. We do it because it is directly coming at a deliverable level. So this is like, I think, a kind of detailed introduction of how these compliance things works. As usual, we spend some time looking at PMI exam content outline to understand how the task of this particular thing works. So I want to make sure that I show you the screen because I believe many people are still not aware from where they get the exam content outline, and they keep trying to find out, should I prepare using PMBOK 6 or PMBOK 7 rather than getting into PMP exam content outline. So you go to PMP page, yeah, from pmi.org as before. You scroll down and you find your exam content outline. We will talk about all the tasks associated with the compliances. And this particular thing is a domain 3, which is called business domain. And this is the first task. Yeah. So as you know, the business domain has 8%. In our previous 2 episodes, we have done 2 tasks already. This is our third task out of business domain. I think I will do the remaining one, the left one, also in the upcoming one. So we at least finish all the business domain tasks. So this is the task: plan and manage project compliances. So what is expected from a project manager is to plan and manage project compliances irrespective of life cycle. You can't say, oh, I am following adaptive life cycle, I don't worry about what government asks me to do. No, you can't. Yeah. So for them, you need to follow the compliances. Yeah, that's the overall thing. You may have some deviation related to internal compliances. There could be a possibility that internal compliances may vary for adaptive to predictive, but external compliances may not look at the life cycle thing. So let's go one by one. So confirm project compliance requirements, security, health, safety, regulatory compliances. So as a project manager, whenever I'm getting into project, I need to ensure, or I need to put my little bit analysis there to identify what are the compliance requirement for this area. I can look at my organization process assets. I can look at my project charter. I can do some kind of research and talking to the stakeholder to understand in the area which we are operating, what are the compliance requirements. It's a little risky thing because sometimes you end up missing them, and you may have a designated group in your organization who may be involved in telling you, and sometimes they get involved a little late, and that's why this becomes a challenge. So you need to identify. So key is identify right stakeholders and get the compliance requirement as early as possible, and then we can refine and define them as we move forward. So that's what you need to do as a project manager. You probably need to classify compliance categories. So in general, whenever you have many things, be it issues, be it risk, you want to categorize them. Yeah. After categorizing, it is easy to work with a respective stakeholder. Maybe all safety related compliances goes in a one area. All people related practices get clubbed in a one area. So you can say all procurement or purchase related practices may get clubbed in the another area. And you may have a stakeholders who can guide you more about people related areas, procurement related areas. So when you categorize them, it becomes more easy to identify them and also to work with various stakeholders. You need to determine potential threats to compliance. So whenever we talk about risk management all the time, compliances are usually sensitive material. We may need to prioritize some compliances also. Some compliances may have a high penalty over others and may have a high consequences as well. So we need to identify what are the consequences. What will happen if my system is not producing the tax audit? Yeah, will my software get banned for a year, or it is just a warning notice I get? We need to understand what are the consequences and what are the possible risks which can create a non-compliant in our product or in our process. So we need to identify that. We need to use methods to support our compliances process or a requirement work. Analyze the consequences of the non-compliances. We spoke about that. Determine necessary approach to address these risks and ensure that we measure the extent of which the project is compliant. You do audit for process related compliance. You do verification, compliance verification for verifying the internal verification of the deliverable complying to a thing. And you also engage the external parties, sometimes third party testings, for ensuring by way of validating your deliverable against the compliance requirement. So in general, when you are dealing with the PMP exam, be aware that you need to deal with compliances. You need to give them special attention, different attention than your usual requirement. You need to have an appropriate stakeholder identified who can help you in verifying and validating those compliance requirements. It is also a good idea to engage those people with your team to educate your team on the compliance requirement. So general education, and the early you involve compliance people, the better it is. And we should target to have early verification and validation of compliance requirement in our project. So if you remember these things, this can give you a few questions, yeah, because this is a relatively a big task in your business domain.